We Finucans, we don't go looking for a fight. But if one comes knocking on our door, then by God we give them a fight to remember.
The Shamrock Spitfire is the story of Brendan Finucane, who was the youngest ever wing commander of the RAF.
He falls in love with his next door neighbour.
He was very heavily into the heroes of the First World War.
His kind of having to overcome initial kind of prejudices about him and the way that he would fit into the regiment that he ends up taking on.
Joining together with other people from all over the world in order to fight a joint cause.
It's a love story at its heart, and in particular his love for the Spitfire.
Just giving it a little spit and polish, sir.
He had one of the greatest numbers of kills in the Battle of Britain, so he was a massive star in the 40s.
He was like the modern day David Beckham.
The Shamrock Spitfire, Scene 1, Take 1.
It was after lockdown, we'd done an animated short film during the lockdown period, and we were eager to get back working with a real crew, a live crew again, and a cast.
We did have another project, didn't we, a World War one. So we're going to do this short film first, but when I went to see the boys, they said we found something, and it's an Irish film, which is a nice little 20-minute short. So that's where it came from. So I hadn't heard of the Spitfire Paddy before.
Because our dad has always been into Spitfires, and he'd been recently reading several books on Spitfires, so the Spitfire was something that we were really aware of, something we were, it was very much in our minds, wasn't it, the Spitfire. So we thought there's got to be a story connected to a Spitfire, because those characters are so colourful. And they're obviously incredibly courageous, brave men. So we were looking through some of these books, and one name popped out, and that was Spitfire Paddy. That immediately struck us because of the Irish connection, an Irishman fighting for the RAF, and obviously we're coming from a big Irish family, that immediately struck a note with us. But it started off as a short film. Originally it was going to be 20, 30 minutes, wasn't it? Just to sort of get the crew back together again and work with live actors again. But as we started to write the scripts, it quickly developed into an hour-long film. And then at that point, we got interest from 101 Films International, and they were really keen to do something with the film. But they said, we can't really do anything with it being an hour long. If it was at least an hour and a half, we could sell it as a feature film. So we went back to John and Nigel and said, guys, this needs to be a feature film.
So we said we'd do it, and then the next day I rang John up because I knew John wanted to do the war one, didn't you, at first? And that's how the team got together. And we started the ball rolling from there, really. I rang John the next day to see if he wanted to join the team, which I knew he did, because he's mad on Spitfires. So we had a meeting down at the old Rose and Crown at the Licker Hills, and that's when the four of us met, wasn't it? And I think, and we discussed it. That's Ian and Dominic and me and John, how we'd work as a team, how we'd get the Spitfires, and I think on that day then we shook hands, didn't we?
But I think it was good because we were lucky working with Nigel and John, because they were, not one time did they ever say, I don't think we can do this, or have we gone too far? They were incredibly supportive from day one on the project. I don't think we would have had the confidence going forward on the project with this, because we'd never done aerial combats before, let alone doing how we're going to find a Spitfire to film it in. It's such a big, grand sort of project, really ambitious project.
That's how it started, just small, talking back and forth, and then it sort of grew and grew and grew, So we didn't start with a massive thing, it just got bigger and bigger under us, didn't it?
I think the great thing about John and Nigel is that their first reactions when you say, we think we need a real Spitfire in this film. They don't say, how the hell are we going to do that? Their reaction is, well, let's find out how do we make it happen. And we'll have a meeting and we'll talk about different ideas of how we're going to do it. And that, for us as filmmakers, it means we can sit down and write the film we want to write. I think that's what filmmaking is, though, isn't it? It's a collaborative thing, and it's also problem solving. That's what filmmaking is. It's a series of problems that you've got to solve. We always had the CGI route. We always get a lot of flack on CG. Everybody always moans about the CG use in films, and we agree. I think there's too much CG in films today. But for us working on a low budget background, CG, it's a tool that we have to use. Especially in the budget we have to work with. We're not going to use real Spitfires and blow them up and shoot them out of the sky. You know, CG is it's the only really realistic solution that we have. If we want to do the battle scenes that we want to do, you know, if we want to do it the way we envisage the scene, CG, miniatures, techniques like that. That's the only option we did. We did try to incorporate as much old school techniques as possible. Like we used miniatures in there. We did try to use live, real Spitfires as much as possible.
Yeah. Research-wise, was the book, was the internet?
The Doug Stokes book that's got an awful lot of history and goes into a lot of detail about his flying officer career as well. I read that from cover to cover. I think, well, we all did, didn't we?
One of the first things we did was to email the family, the living relatives of Brendan. It was important that we had their blessing going forward. So when they got back, Brendan Finucane, his nephew, he got back and said, yes, you know, we're happy for you guys to make this movie. He wanted to have a Zoom with us. And on the Zoom, he introduced us to their family historian, John Donovan. And John is absolute. What he does know about Brendan Finucane, it's not worth knowing. So we had a chat with him, and he's such a lovely bloke.
Yeah, they invited us down to Hornchurch Museum.
We spoke to members of his family and people of his historians as far as Hornchurch and Brendan Finucane were involved, and it was just gathering information as we went.
It was actually reading letters, because they opened up the whole collection that Doug Stokes had used for his research. They had it all available at Hornchurch. So it was getting there, holding letters written by Brendan to his family and to Jean, and looking at the photographs, looking at his records in the RAF, and seeing all his medals and even his pipe, just having those artefacts and being able to touch some of them. I think that, again, it just made us feel like we literally had a connection to that story, to that man. I think also that John was such a great help writing the scripts, because we could write a scene and then we'll just bounce it back to John to have a look and say, can you look at that from both an historical and a technical perspective? How accurate is that scene? Because I think it was important for us to make a film that was, although it's a drama, we wanted it to be historically and technically accurate as possible. Well, John Donovan was a major source of information for us. He was like a goldmine of information. So he would suggest ideas as well. He would say, you know, he'd email us and go, guys, what about including this? What about including that? But the great thing about John is that when you write a script, scene, you've got somebody you can bounce that to and say, not just from an historical point of view, but because he knows Brendan so well, he might say, well, Brendan, in my opinion, probably wouldn't do that, or he wouldn't say it that way, he would say it this way. It's also his knowledge of the RAF. Yeah. He goes beyond Brendan. He has an expansive knowledge of the RAF, and particularly of that time period. It was like having a consultant on set.
Normally, you don't have to mark it off. Not too bad, thanks.
That's where we first heard of Brendan QC, because we watched Jerry Johnson's documentary, and obviously Brendan was interviewed on there, and then we just tracked him down, and we found he'd been interviewed by several papers.
Found his email?
We found his email, yeah. I can't remember how we found his email. I can't remember which one found that, if it was Nigel or one of us two.
I found Brendan Finucane was head of the family history thing. So I approached him. I realised he was a High Court judge. So when the first email came back... Barrister, quite rightly, that he was, who are you and what's going on and whatever.
As we got to know them and we shared the script with Brendan, I think they began to realise, well, hang on, these guys they're doing something different, and they liked us.
But the thing with the Finucane family, they've always been really protective over Brendan, and they've tried to make films on Brendan before. They tried to make one back in 1951, 52. They tried to make a film about it, and the family shut it down straight away. When we got an email back from Brendan, it was just a massive sigh of relief that he said, let's talk. Okay, I want to talk. I'm interested in what you've got to say and what you want to do with the project. So, I mean, for us, there was a lot of pressure, wasn't there, on the script to tell the story we want. But we knew the story we wanted to tell Brendan. We knew it was an honest story. Brendan, you know, we wanted to bring back the real Brendan to life.
I think with Finucane's, understandably, they're just trying to protect his legacy. I don't want someone to write something not true about him or sensationalise his life. So I think for us, it wasn't like we knew that's not what we wanted to do with it. You know, we wanted to honour what he'd done, his memory. When you're researching, you'll find little gems. And those little gems are the scenes that make you want to make the film. So if we, like for Paddy, there were a couple of moments we found when doing the research, like the moment with him and his father, the conflict with him and his father, and that became a pull. You know, you think that'd be an amazing scene. That'd be great just to do that, and then you think, oh, that's another great scene. There's another great scene. Then those are they become the pull to do the project, the motivation.
We were back and forth, weren't we, with the scripts?
Well, yeah.
Ian and Dominic gave us the block.
Yeah.
And we'd read through.
And we'd give them our opinions,
yeah.
and even some suggestions now and again, which sometimes they wouldn't just discard it. They'd say to us, well, no, we think we're going to do it this way because. And they'd explain it, and we go, yeah, okay, yeah, we can see that.
Which is nice, isn't it? You can. Yeah. So with Ian and Dominic, it's nice to be able to.
Yeah.
You don't just get the scripts and that's it. It's not like Shakespeare where we can't change any words or anything.
The historical and military research that you've got to do, which is intense, because you're writing about a world you're not familiar with, and especially because it's 80 years ago. So there's a huge amount of. We went through so many interviews, recorded interviews with RAF pilots, Battle of Britain veterans, watched film reels, tons and tons of battle footage, obviously for the CG elements, like the gun footage from the cameras. We just read loads and loads and loads of books written by people like Douglas Bader. There was a series of World War II era RAF magazines, which were filled with interviews by pilots, particularly Spitfire pilots we were looking for, who talked about what it's like to fly a Spitfire, talked battle tactics. So all these were giving us terminology. We were learning terminology, and we were learning things like what it's like to be a Spitfire pilot, what it's like to live.
Just the way they spoke.
And a day in the life of a Spitfire.
We also watched a lot of old movies, 1940s sort of movies, just to pick up the lingo, the mannerisms. But also I think a lot of his old movies, a lot of the actors and the filmmakers are ex-RAF.
Or armed forces.
Yeah, so they're a genuine article. You know, when the way they express themselves, the way they act, that's how they would have acted.
The authenticity you get in a film, like you watch the Dam Busters or Reach for the Sky, there's just an authenticity about the performances. Watching these actors like Richard Attenborough in Journey Together, which was made in the early 40s. It was made during the war, but the whole cast are made up with actors, professional actors who were serving in the RAF. So everything you're watching is it's so authentic, from the dialogue to the way they carry themselves. It's just, for us, it just brought that era really back to life, and it became the main inspiration for us. A lot of his old films became such a heavy influence on the film, and even the visual look of the film, which is why we went down the Technicolor look for the colour grade, because we wanted to try and recreate that. Give it back to life. That vibe we wanted to create. That's something that sort of kind of doesn't really exist anymore. It's like a world that doesn't really, a bygone world, and the Technicolor look became a big part of that for us.
Sorry, I'm late, Roger.
I'd say probably 5 or 6 major rewrites, but we
constantly tweaking.
Yeah, we were constantly tweaking it, and minor. By the time we were shooting, I think we were on
17 points.
Yeah, it got to
A or C.
after around about 17. It was 17A, 17B. So I think we were on about 17C or D by the time we were shooting. But we were constantly rewriting, even through shooting. An idea might come to us, or an actor might come up with an idea. So
it's never a locked thing.
No, script's constantly evolving all the way through the film.
And then when we got the script, we set about scheduling it, and that took me about 2 or 3 months to do that.
Well, it's yeah, when the script comes back, you're thinking how you're going to turn, because our job as producers, you've got to turn that script, what they've written, into reality, you know. I mean,
yeah, and you've got to cost it efficiently as well.
When we got the script, it's just doing it in chronological order, wasn't it, to start with? We thought,
yeah,
if we can shoot it chronologically at the start, not only will help with the budget, because the Spitfire doesn't appear for half hour, but it will help the actors as well.
Blue skies smiling at me.
We've put a casting call out on all the casting websites. That's it really, we put an advert out and sit back and see who comes back. Usually we get inundated with actors, but I think with the casting Brendan, because we had a very particular sort of idea in mind for that. It was more difficult than, it's probably our most difficult role to cast. We had some good actors, very good actors coming back. We had this look in mind. We wanted him to look as close to the real Brendan as possible. And then we got to a point where we turned to Nigel and John and said, look, I think we'll have to cast the net wider here. I think we're going to have to look in Ireland. Hopefully we'll find an Irish actor to play this part.
And I think it was about page 192, we saw Shane O'Regan. Initially we said, you know, there's a bit of resemblance here to Brendan. And so we obviously clicked on his page and looked at his show reel. But the funny thing was that I didn't realise this until I'd contacted Nigel. I said, I think we might have found our man. That Shane O'Regan had also worked previously with Sally Humphries, who's actually one of our associate producers on this film. So it was just funny that there was already this kind of link with Shane O'Regan to the film. So he sent an email out to his agents, and Shane got back and said, yep, I'm interested in trying for the part. He came back with a self-tape for us, and we straight away we knew that he was the right man for the part.
Well, it's hard to explain, but it's like something is pulling you up off the earth, up into the sky, and then there's nothing above you anymore.
Well, every time the boys would throw the casting net out and say they'd pick it down to about 3 or 4, and then they'd send me and John the 3 or 4 tapes of each actor. And they wouldn't say anything. They'd let us have our opinions, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
And then we'd get back with our opinions without knowing what Ian and Dominic thought, and if they all matched up.
Yeah. What came out of the way it was done was that we got some extremely good performances.
Some great actors.
All
great actors.
Yeah, they were fantastic. Everybody, even the people at the screening, some of my friends said, you know, where do you find these people? They are really good actors.
Yeah.
Steph, you know, there are a lot of them about.
Yeah.
Pretty much like any other one. I just got an email from my agent with a casting opportunity and read it and said, yeah, we'll go for this. Obviously, in researching the part, I kind of looked it up and saw him, and I went, okay, there's a little bit of resemblance here, so, you know, gave it a little bit of confidence for the audition.
When you see him on film, I mean, there's no doubt that Shane was the right actor for that part. You know, he did bring him to life on screen, and you know, he's all those months of looking for an actor. I think it was because we were waiting to find the right actor to play that part, and we did.
He's a really great actor, isn't he?
Yeah, he comes across very well on screen. There's no doubt about that.
And you don't notice it when he's acting in the room, but when you see it on the camera, you know, the little looks, the emotions that Shane can give, little nuances that really, when it's blown up, you think, but I didn't. Some things everyone says this, you know, when you watch an actor live, you don't see the looks of the eyes or that, but I thought they were great, you know, no, they really brought the character to life.
He also mixed very well with the other actors.
The actors gelled because they started to know each other and text each other and have WhatsApp groups, so when they came back together again, the Aussies, it was like, you know, it was all mates. And sometimes I'd go on set and I had to go and fetch 1 or 2 of them. I remember a couple of times at Ashdown, and I'd go in and they'd be singing a song or they'd be having a right laugh in the corner, and I just left them. It's nice to get that bonding experience, and that comes across on the screen, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like he comes to set, he's like, I just got hopped off a 24-hour flight. I met him, and we sort of got launched straight into a scene almost immediately. So we had not a great deal of time to get to know each other, but that is how it works on things like this. And he's just such a genuine, lovely guy, so funny. And I don't know, we just clicked, which is exactly what you want when you eventually are playing real life best mates.
Happy birthday, you little Irish bastard. Happy birthday to you.
It doesn't need a lot of directing. Some actors, you have to make adjustments. You know, you're cutting, oh, can we just try this way? Can we do that a little bit? Or try doing this with Shane.
I think Shane did take a bit of getting used to that, I think. So I think Shane
I think I think Shane was expecting a lot of, let's do this, let's do that. But we didn't need to with Shane. He'd become the character, and the way he was acting was, he was giving us what we wanted. We're in safe hands there. You know, he'll carry this scene off. He knows what to do.
He's amazing. He's so much fun to work with. Yeah, we were laughing non-stop in between takes. Yeah, he's just a very, very generous actor. Always very available as well, because we'd like chat like outside of set, like we'd text each other all the time about the scenes and stuff, and yeah, he was wonderful to work with and just like an incredible actor.
Owen is an absolutely brilliant actor. I had such a presence on set with him, which is just what we wanted for Andy. He was such a strong presence, very much the leader of the household. And Owen, when he walked on set, he just had this immense sort of presence about him, and slightly intimidating, which is just how we wanted him to play Andy.
You just looked at Andy, and whenever he performed, and you're looking at somebody that's got a real skill.
I think when we done the house scene, he was outside, about to come in, Owen was, and he was in character, and I could feel the power coming off Owen. I thought, oh, just leave him alone. And even Emily said that when he came in the door, it was just like a tsunami of.
I know.
And so I think
I was standing next to him in the doorway while he was doing that piece.
Yeah, he was.
I was just thinking, this is really good to watch.
Yeah.
I want to join the RAF, Dad. If they'll have me.
The moment we saw him, we said, he's Andy. No one else was even in the picture, as far as we were concerned. He was just how we saw the character when we wrote him. So when I think we reached out to Owen and invited him for a role, I think. But when he got back and said yes, we were so happy. You know, I think he was one of the first people we cast.
Florence and Brendan's desire to become a pilot, yes, I think any mother would obviously have had a lurch in their stomach, because it was terrifyingly dangerous. I mean, I suppose at the point where he wanted to join the RAF, it was quite new, and war was just rumbling. So she might not have known what a dangerous job it was going to be. In fact, nobody did, I suppose. But Florence was a very formidable, feisty, adventurous woman herself, and she always encouraged her children to sort of go to be their best selves, I suppose you say today, and seek adventure. She was pretty adventurous, feisty woman herself, so I think she was very, very much behind Brendan, and she wanted him to do what he wanted with his life and not just follow the sort of well-trodden path, I suppose.
Florence I think they were definitely both equally influential in Brendan's life. I mean, there's a story of Florence, because she wasn't a Catholic, but she converted to Catholicism when she married Andy.
On the proviso that Andy gave up his politics.
Yeah. Back then in Ireland, people would curtsy to a priest. She always refused to curtsy to a priest. She'd never curtsy to a priest. So I think that goes to show how strong-willed she was. She was definitely a very strong-willed influence on the young Brendan. And I think Emily captured that perfectly.
Well, there was a little bit of conflict there, I believe, but I don't think it was really because of Jean. I think it was more because Mr. and Mrs. Wolford had also encouraged Brendan to join the RAF. They helped him to get started as a pilot, sort of going slightly behind my husband's back, and he was quite a difficult character, so I don't think that made him very happy. They were very young, but in the 40s, what were you going to do, you know?
Yeah, that family dynamics, you know, the son wants to fly, but the dad is like, you can fly, but it's the history part that's...
How am I going to explain this to my friends? Yeah.
So for Brendan, in real life, to go and fly and step over his dad, really, to go and fly, was the dynamics of the mum, Emily, you know, so the three of those actors working together, it was joy to watch, wasn't it? Just to be on set with them. It was just like, It was an honour. I even said that to Emily after the film, and it was just that was an honour to watch that.
As I said in her audition, when she added that little layer to the scene with the children when they were pretending to fire guns at each other, we loved that. You know, the way she brought the scene to life.
And she just added all this gunfire, and we thought, well, we'll have that. We'll have that.
Yeah.
I grabbed you up out of that pram and threw.
And so the boys included that in the script, and it just brought it to life. And that's what an actor does. You know, that's what they bring something that you haven't thought about.
And we thought that wasn't written in the scene, and that was her bringing something new and fresh to that scene.
I think there's a rawness as well to Emily's performance, an emotional scene with Emily in it. At the time she was doing it, when she finished, some of the crew members turned to me and said, "Look, how emotionally upset they were from watching her performance." Because when she was playing Florence, she just seemed to tap into something that was just so authentic and so real.
Yeah, getting the telegram, which so many people did in the 40s. I mean, it is a strange one, isn't it? But I suppose I just empathised with Florence because the more I read about the family, there were certain things that really got me in the throat. I think when you receive really bad news, it doesn't hit you until later. So that scene that we shot with the telegraph boy, it was a shock, and I sort of fell against the door frame for support, but you didn't see the pain because I think that will come later.
We worked with Charlie first on 7 Days. He played young Dave Healy, and he's not Charlie's not a trained actor, but he's natural in front of the camera. And that's what we liked about him in 7 Days. He was natural in front of that camera, and he's great in that role. So we did think it'd be lovely to work with him again. Now, there are some actors that we just, you know you're going to work with them again.
I think Ian and Dominic fed Charlie what's happening. This, you know, plus it's a true story. It really happened, and it was just great to have Charlie back. Although he was, I think, 12 when we worked with him, and now he was 17. And people watching the film and seeing that scene will see how Charlie delivered that, which I thought was really poignant, the way he walked down.
And Emily's handling of it.
Yeah, the pair of them
Also,
together.
I was physically and mentally moved that day.
Yeah.
I was standing a few feet in front of her while she did that, and I had to go for a walk.
When Charlie walks off and then Emily gives that performance of losing her son, that was tough, that was, wasn't it?
Charlie holds his own in that. It's a small but pivotal scene he's in. It's very emotional. And he definitely brings some of that emotion to that scene. So yeah, Charlie's a great kid. I love working with him. Sarah was amazing. Sarah was. She like
coupling again.
Yeah, I know we're talking about Brian.
Yeah, to say that they hadn't worked with each other before, and when we met them on that day on the set.
You thought they were husband and wife?
You thought they might have been in character beforehand. Yeah, you thought that, they were just husband and wife.
Met each other before, yeah.
It was just great working with them. And again, it's one of those relationships where you can just stand back. And I think Ian and Dominic just stood back, and they got it. So that they didn't have to explain much, did you? It was just that they got the roles, a bit domineering, a bit placid, but they want the best for their daughter. Remember, it's not 1940. It's a different time and age, you know.
Jean's parents really didn't want the engagement to happen. I don't think they particularly didn't like Brendan. I think they just wanted to protect her from heartbreak, which was kind of almost inevitable really during the war because he was going out in a Spitfire, obviously very dangerous. But yeah, that didn't stop her from wanting him.
The first thing that I thought about was how many other people are going through the same thing, because my character actually refers to other people having that same problem of their daughter falling in love with somebody who might die tomorrow, if not today. It broke my heart to read the script, and then it was a case of remembering what my grandparents said to me, you just got on with things, and being stoic and having to face all the tragedies that were happening, and taking all that on board, and then having a husband that was just going to rattle off and say no, and then understanding the power of love, being a woman, thinking, no, that's not the way to go. the characterisation came out of the history of the situation for me.
I think of like my own daughters. Now you are protective towards them, and in any situation, the thought of your daughter being broken-hearted, and you sort of looking and seeing like the worst outcome, which unfortunately in the film does depict that, is where you sort of got the essence of your character. Really the story and the words and the sort of things I've described there about your own family circumstances, it really creates itself, if you like, the character.
We wanted her character to be sort of like a bit of a comedy relief sort of character in the film, and she just nailed it. Right, it was the right person in the right role with Sarah. With Sarah, it's the right blend of comedy, but she knew when to be serious in the role. Dramatic as that sounds wrong, yeah. I think with Brian, he was perfect as the husband. Again, it was a perfect coupling, wasn't it? You know, he was. He's very funny in his role as well, but he's just. I think he was the two of them together. Just he knew how to support Sarah, didn't he? In her role, perfect together, weren't they?
Yeah, lovely. They're so fun. Yeah, so much fun. They're really, just beautiful people and very giving actors as well to work with, which is, a really nice experience.
Bethany was amazing. When I saw her in the film, she glowed. She is incredible. I thought she is just able to carry a lead role. She's a wonderful, wonderful girl. I am so proud of her as an actress, and I'm also so proud of her as a parent, surrogate parent. So it was amazing to work with her. And also it was amazing to work with Brian as well, because as soon as we met, I just knew there was going to be trouble. I don't know why, but I just thought, right, I know. I think I've read the script. I know how this is working out, but the way that my character just, I suppose you call it osmosis. You feel this sort of chemistry, and then I just know, right, now I know how I'm delivering those lines.
Working with Sarah, as you can tell by her personality and the way that we sort of came together, it was just great. And regarding what Sarah was saying about Beth, you only had to watch the film to realise what a performance that was.
Well, we did it with Sarah. On that day we were filming in the house, but we decided to do was you worked with Sarah, didn't you, on that day? And I worked with Ryan, deliberately, separately, so they wouldn't hear how each was to be directed. So I took Ryan to one side, and then I'd tell him about who the dad is, what his character is, and give him some ideas to play with. And then did the same with Sarah, took him to the opposite side of the room, and then spoke about who Mrs. Walford was, what her personality was, and a little bit about her background. The idea was that we didn't want to know what the other was directing, what the other was saying to. I didn't want Sarah to hear what Ryan was saying. I didn't want Ryan to hear what Sarah was saying. So, but I think that worked really well because there was a natural reaction to each other when they were, because it wasn't rehearsed when we were filming it. The performance wasn't rehearsed, and each of them had their own. They weren't concentrating. Ryan wasn't thinking about, Sarah's got to do this, and she's coming from that background, and she's got that kind of feeling because she's in that sort of mood. So all he was doing was just thinking about his character in that role. So for us, I think it just worked really well. Didn't it? It worked really nice, and it just gave us these kind of
organic responses,
instant, natural reactions in the scene.
I prepared for the role of Jean Wilford through a lot of research into what was going on in the 1940s. Jean is also, she works for the Ministry of Defence, so I kind of looked into that. I was also supplied with a decent amount of her backstory.
Bethany, she was ideal in the role. She kind of encompasses that old screen kind of charisma that we were looking for. She knew when we were auditioning, one of the questions was, do you want this sort of 1940s style of acting, and the way they spoke. So she understood that we were trying to recreate, not just that era, but that sort of style of filmmaking.
The one thing that stuck out with Bethany, there was a movement. She'd done the role, but there was sort of a movement with the shoulder, and that sort of stuck out, this sort of 1940s, and when I met her and asked about that, she said she'd been looking at 1940 films to get this sort of the movement. And I think that worked. So sometimes in casting, it's not what you say, it's what you do.
People don't understand sometimes in casting, when you're casting like Shane and Bethany, they have to play a couple. So it's not just casting great actors, they have to have a chemistry. You have to believe that these guys are a real couple.
I think if it's not there, you can't fool the audience.
Yeah, you can't fake it.
It's there or it's not.
Yeah.
And with them two, it was there in buckets loads.
Yeah.
They lit up the screen when they were together.
You can go as high as 37,000 feet.
The way you talk about that plane makes me jealous.
The first time we ever spoke was our first day on set together. We didn't know each other, we'd never spoken before. And there was just an immediate connection, which was really important, I think. And just as I got to learn more about her as a performer, but also just as a human, I realized how similar we were and how much in sync we were. And I think that really works well for the film, but it's also just lovely to find a really good pal like that.
Well, it was quite difficult because it wasn't that much known about it, was
Yeah,
it?
and we also found out that Jean wasn't her real name.
Yeah.
Which is why we were running into these dead-end corners. We were trying to find information. Her real name was Joan, and Jean was like a family name that they called her. So it's strange. So we found that only by when one of her family members contacted her daughter, contacted us, who's currently living in Australia. So she started feeding some information to us about Jean. And stuff that we didn't know, that wasn't in any of the books about her. So she helped kind of bring a bit of a backstory to Jean. She's kind of fed us, which we kind of fed into building the character of Jean up.
The producers managed to find some of her family members, so they also supplied some information as well, and some really beautiful details of her and Brendan sneaking out at night to kind of hide from the pats and go dancing together, which I thought was just so romantic.
She was incredibly modern in her thinking. She was incredibly ahead of her time. It was like, no, I'm not going to do what's expected of me. I'm going to follow my heart. I'm going to follow my dreams. I think nowadays it's much more common for us to kind of follow our dreams and not do the sensible thing all the time because we only live once. And I think she really encapsulated that in the fact that she was willing to be with Bren despite the risks of losing him quite early on.
Chris, originally we looked over until we saw a show reel. The funny thing about Chris was when he did his audition for Bluey, first thing we thought of was there's an old Australian actor called Jack Thompson, who was around in the 60s and 70s. He's still acting, but he was a big actor in the 60s and 70s, an Australian actor. Now, Jack Thompson is the actor we would have cast if we were making this film back in 1970 something. Jack Thompson is the actor we would have wanted to play Bluey. And Chris was like Jack Thompson for us in that audition. He just sounded like him, his mannerisms, he just embodied that real sort of old-fashioned Aussie bloke. And there's a sort of strength about Chris as well in that performance. There was a strong presence he brought to the role. So we said, look, we really want him to play Bluey.
A bunch of crazy Aussies, led by an even crazier Irish fella. You couldn't make it up.
We had to wait a few months for Chris, to get Chris for that, but we didn't really want. We tried a few other guys.
We almost recast because we had to wait so long.
They didn't compare today to Chris.
We almost had to recast him, but luckily at the last minute he was available for a role, and we're so glad that he was.
Bluey Truscott, who was an Australian pilot and eventually became best friend to Brendan. So Bluey was a young Australian lad. He became a pilot in the early 1940s and eventually found his way over to the RAF in England. He was one of the top flyers in his class, graduated really quickly, and then met Brendan while they were both fighting in England. And sadly, eventually was killed a couple of years later on in a training exercise, crashed his plane into the sea. I think he was only 26, but in that short amount of time, he crammed in so much and just saw so much. I suppose that is what so many of the young lads did at that time, isn't it? He was captain of his Australian rules football team. It's just, from all my research into him, it's just like, there's such a larger-than-life character, like a real leader, a real like sort of firecracker of a bloke. And so that's what I've tried to embody him with. Brendan and Bluey did butt heads at first because they were both large personalities, and I don't think Bluey particularly fancied taking orders from anybody, and especially not him.
There are two things we expect you to understand in the Royal Air Force. The first is the English language, and the second is discipline.
All right, lads, you heard the squadron leader. Let's show him how we play well.
but over time, and that's certainly how we tried to play it from the beginning. And over time, they gain this mutual respect of two guys who are sort of at the peak of this. In such a strange period of time, they're in the peak of this flying capability, and they gain this mutual respect. And actually, over time, Brendan thaws a little bit towards the Australians. They've got a very Australian sense of humour, and he thaws to them a bit, and they learn to respect him as well. Not only for his undoubtable skill, because he was an incredible pilot, far beyond any of them, but then for his personality as well, and for his honour. And by the time the film is ended, Bluey and Brendan rather are good mates, and me and Shane were the same. Me and Shane, we clicked from the first day.
You know that party's for you. Or did you forget? Well, one of us now. And well, we'll go there.
Because we knew that dynamic between Bluey and Brendan was going to be really important, and it's very hard to fake that kind of camaraderie, but luckily I remember Chris's first day on set, and it was just immediately, we were just great pals immediately, which made everything so much easier.
We tried to input as much real stories and real people in the film as possible, even though Blake's character, Mick, wasn't really part of 452. He's a character from another squadron who we transplanted in there because we just found his story was such a poignant story. It was strangely sort of a bit funny, but it was very poignant, very, very poignant story. A young Australian guy who had been shielded from the war, from the world by his parents for a whole year into the war. He didn't even know there was a world war being fought. He just carried on his existence, living on a farm in a small town in the middle of Australia. Added another layer into the story.
Hey, what did they give you that DSC for? Don't mind me, it's just a little slow.
I'll see you boys at 0600 hours.
What the hell for?
I'd like to get a few hours practice in before breakfast. Besides, some of us have some catching up to do.
Oh, bloody hell, mate!
We did ad-lib a lot and play around, like, especially in that intro scene where we're all like playing the rugby ball. We were just chatting over each other, and some lines made it, some lines didn't. But it's just, it didn't really matter, did it? Yeah, it's just our squad.
Yeah, I think it was interesting seeing the script versus what came out. So on the script there was definite lines written, and what made it to the film is lines that you thought might have more importance didn't. And then lines that we'd made up had more importance because we were given that sort of freedom to be let's. I think how quickly we all became really close.
I was going to say
within like 25 minutes of being sat in a free shed.
I think we had such good chemistry together. A lot of the off-camera stuff sort of bled into the camera stuff. So we'd roll and we just sort of knew what to say to each other.
But I think with the Aussies as well, again, it's the chemistry those guys have. You look at those guys and they look like a bunch of mates, and they had that generally offset, that chemistry, and a couple of them knew each other, had worked with each other before, but some of them had never worked with each other, never met each other before, but they instantly had that chemistry, and what you see in front of a camera is very much what they were like off camera.
I think we all just had a very similar mindset coming into the film, and I think that really worked in our favour.
I guess that comes down to casting though as well, where it's like, it just so happened to be that we're a group of guys, like, how many nicknames did we have? We had Big Ed, Big Neck, Big Daddy Cobb.
Big Daddy Cobb,
Just Ed.
Absolutely.
And it's like,
Gin's Queen. It's like,
massive.
I think off screen, none of us are these kind of lads or these kind of people. But when we got together, it should be. We should
of goodness.
How
did you feel? There were long days shooting as well, so it was kind of similar to that where we had a long day shooting, so we had to kind of entertain ourselves. And then that energy just kind of came to the scenes, didn't it? So it was brilliant. It was good.
Charles, he's I mean, that's he's got to be one of my favourite characters, the priest that Charles plays. He's just brilliant in roles now. Again, he's the accent, the mannerisms, the little quirks. Again, he brought his own little something to that role. he's made it all the better for it. But he's just...
It's a nice bit of, again, a little bit of comic relief in there. But I think there's also, he's such an important figure to Brendan, because for Brendan, he's his spiritual advisor and his guide, I suppose like a bit of a rod for Brendan. So I think for Charles, it wasn't just like he gave us a bit of comic relief in the film. I think he's there also just to
guide him.
Yeah, he's there to sort of illustrate how important Brendan's faith was to him. You know, because he's almost like a father figure to Brendan. And he's also a device for us to use where we could allow Brendan to open up. Because you think about World War II veterans, they very, very rarely open up about their experiences in war, particularly that generation. When you introduce somebody like Charles, a priest, who's like a confidence for Brendan, we've suddenly got this excuse here where we can open up. It's something that feels so private for Brendan, where he can finally open up and talk to this man about how he's feeling inside. Things he wouldn't be revealing to even Jean, his girlfriend, his fiancée. Charles enabled us to do that. Enabled us to create those scenes where we could sort of see what was going on inside. Things that Brendan would sometimes write about but not speak about. And so he gave us a chance to give voice to that, and so we can sort of get in to see just how the war was affecting him.
How he was feeling inside.
Up the Shamrock!
Now, boys, remember where you are. You're the house of the Lord. There's only something to be done in here. It will be done by me.
She's just great to have on set, Sophia. She's just a lovely presence. So bubbly and just lovely to have around. But she's a great actress as well. Again, she has a good knack of comedy timing. So she can bring a dramatic turn to the character, or she could do a comic turning, and her part as Nurse Grace is great. You know, and she got an award for her role, which, you know, says it all. But she's great in her role, and again, great at taking direction. One of those actors that she'll bring something of her own to the character. So she's great to work with. Jensen previously worked on Peaky Blinders, playing Cillian Murphy's son. He's a natural in front of the camera. He's very relaxed, takes direction really well.
Jensen, a bit of an acrobat, isn't he? So anytime we'd break for a bit of film, he'd go off and do a cartwheel or two, or a handstand, or a bit like you, John. So yeah, I think he's well up in his gymnastics.
Jake, again, very natural, very relaxed in front of the camera. Great, you know, they're both great kids. You know, I like working with them.
Shane said that, didn't he, when he saw Jake? He said, I could see why you cast him. You know, because there's a resemblance to me. Again, with both those actors, it wasn't just acting; they had to contend with the accent as well. So I think they did incredibly well. You know, the sort of pressure.
Quite demanding.
The sort of pressure of filming on location with a crew around them, having to deliver lines while trying to deliver it in a Dublin accent. I think they did incredibly well. Both very professional guys to work with, really nice kids, and they became really part of the team. So yeah, really enjoyed working with Jensen and Jay.
It turned out really well. I really liked it. I didn't think we were going to get a premiere, but it's really cool to see everyone turn out and stuff. So yeah.
I really enjoyed it because I got to dress up in a suit and come to a premiere. I really enjoyed filming it. It was really impressive that it turned out really good. It didn't even take that long to film, actually. It was really impressive. It actually looked really realistic, like we've just been in a proper fight.
Brilliant. Okay, then, lads. First, I had a film come out around here about 2009-10, which was in the newspapers, and the boys had their 13th Day film. I think it was around about the same time. So I think we'd read about each other, and when I saw the 13th Day film, I thought they'd shot that in Portugal, sort of a black and white thing. I didn't know where they lived. They could have lived anywhere in the UK. I spoke on email or phone, found out they lived 1 mile away. You know, I thought that's a coincidence. So we went and met at a place called Westmead Hotel, where we still meet. And that's how I first initially met them. They were looking for a producer for a Japanese Nagasaki film. That's how we started.
We've worked with Nigel for 11 or 12 years now. Our first film was All That Remains. and we've just worked with him ever since. We've got such a good working relationship with Nigel. I think especially after 11 years, but even from day one we sort of had that kind of connection. But now he like instinctively knows what we want to do with a film. He knows where we want to take the film. And the great thing about Nigel, and same with John as well, is that they're people that do things. They go out and do things. They don't just sit there talking about stuff. They just go out. Like John will, like I'll say something to John, and before I know it, he's done it.
Since then, just short films or feature films, and you've gathered the crew as well. So working with Ian and Dominic's like you get a shorthand on set.
John came on board. It was after we'd made 7 Days, and a friend of John's showed John the film and said, "Oh, there's a couple of guys here you might want to talk to." And John had been looking for a way, I think, to get back into producing. And then when he had a meeting with us, and we all got on really well from the first meeting. And we told him about the Spitfire project. We want to make a film for Spitfire, and he said, "This is my sort of project. This is the sort of thing I really want to make." We were lucky to have two really enthusiastic producers who just loved the project as much as we did.
I think it's like with Nigel, with John and Nigel, you think, how would we have made this film without Nigel or John? And I think when you ask yourself that question, you know you found the right producers.
Working with Dom and Ian, it was lovely. Yeah, they're so passionate about the story. So just kind of feeding off their passion was yeah, just lovely to have that to feed off of. And yeah, they're sweet people, and they know exactly what they want. So it's nice to work with them.
I feel like they've been literally nothing but supportive, and they're always happy to hear any ideas we have, any opinions we have. Like, they never shut us down at all. Like, they're always happy, and they give their own ideas, which are also like really good. But like, oh, they're great. They're great.
I feel
they're
like
really
there's
great.
a level of trust there as well, to know that we are obviously specialists in our field, they're specialists in their field.
Yeah.
They've got the vision, we want to achieve the vision, but we have gone back and forth sharing ideas.
Yeah.
We've done our research, gone back to them and said, what do you think of this?
Yeah.
And they are happy to just trust us with what we do.
It's really dynamic. We'll obviously make all the preparations, we'll make the plans, but at the same time they're always willing to try new things. They're always taking a lot from the locations and the scenes, and at the same time they listen to the cast as well.
They're great lads. No, they're just, you can see, it's always great to work with directors that have got a passion for what they're making, and it's not just a job. Really approachable, lovely lads, always ready to listen, always ready to tell you, like, you can have a conversation with them about anything really, any process for the scene, any little bits, any questions you might have.
Our team know how we work now, so there's no like having to explain, we're doing this, we do that, we do this. We don't have to waste time explaining how we want to do something. And this is one thing that becomes consistent, isn't it? 'Cause actors can come and go, but your core teams are the ones that stay with you. You know, they're always on that ship with you, on whatever journey you're going on. You've always got that core team around you.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers to the 18. We've worked with Dan for about 11 years. We've been trying to get rid of him for the last 11 years. Worked with him about 11 years since Still What Remains. Young lad, still in college then, he'll just come out of college. Uni, a young lad then. I mean, we worked 11 years.
When we were 12 years ago, we were going to start filming the Japanese film, and I got a phone call from a chap I used to work with that his son, Dan, had just left university and was looking for a start on a film. And it was literally, that phone call was the most perfectly timed phone call, because Dan has been with us for 12 years now, so we were only 3 days away from actually filming, so I think that call was on the Wednesday, and then on the Saturday or Sunday we started filming the Japanese film. I think Dan, Ian and Dominic are just now like a unit. They can't work without each other.
Love working with Dan. I think also like Nigel, because we've worked for such a long time now.
We kind of know how each other thinks, so we kind of work really well together.
When Dan first started working for us, he was literally making coffee. Just coffee and just helping out here and there like a runner. And then sort of gradually gone into cameras. He brought his camera to set, and we'd say, oh, all right, do your own little thing with the camera in the background, sort of thing. And then eventually, as you sort of got more used to it and got better at it, we started to incorporate Dan into like a bona fide member of the camera crew. And now Dan's sort of a right-hand man when it comes to the camera duties. So yeah, it's been great. It has been great working with that.
My head's very wet.
And big.
and large.
But what did we find out yesterday?
We found out...
Not as big as mine.
Not as big as this guy.
Turn the camera around.
Yeah, put your behind the camera, look at that.
I take up the whole frame.
Wow, that
See?
is massive.
Look how big mine is compared to yours.
I don't think it's missed a day's filming on the 8 or 9 films that we've done. And of course, when you're planning a film shoot, or when we're planning a weekend that we can do, the first phone call is, can Dan do that weekend as well? And sometimes we will. You can't do it without Dan Woodward, really, because he's the third camera.
That's not bad. It's all right. Yeah. I'm just let you do this for the camera. Make it happen. I'm just going to keep talking. Any great shadows? Not great. Nothing to sort that out. You've still got it again? Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And cut.
Steve was also a runner when he first started working for us. Now he's sort of like his official duty is sort of clapper, but he looks after everybody on set as well, doesn't he, Steve?
He's a must. He's a must on the film set. I know Stephen is on the clapper board, which is that's a hard when you're doing take after take after take for 12 hours to keep on top of that. More than Stephen's job, he's got his eyes on the whole film set, which is what you need.
We also christened him health and safety.
Yeah. Well, he is, you know, he does so many concerts, and he does Glastonbury for the last 15 years, and he runs a team of marshals and health and safety things in Glastonbury. So Steve, he's always got his eye on the ropes or leads or something.
So it's just been great working with guys like that, because you grow with them. You know, as we've grown as a company and filmmakers, to have these guys sort of grow alongside us, it's
hard, isn't it, finding a good team of people?
And I think now we're more than a team. I think we're like a family now.
And go in. Clink, clink. Clink, 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 clink.
I'd worked with Billy Bannister before on a couple of films, so we knew how great and efficient and he was. Billy came on this one for about 2 days, didn't he? I think he really wanted to do more, but he was in Manchester on dramas. So he came down, and he did a great couple of days for us, didn't he, on this one?
We worked with Billy Bannister a couple of times, haven't we? I mean, a great young guy. You know, he's really hard to get hold because he's so busy. It's like an honour when he's on set, because he's so in demand. It's like, you know, when he's on our set, it's like, you know, it's amazing just to have a guy of his experience.
He put us in touch with Ian Edwards as well. He became our main on-set recordist, and he's just such a lovely man. Such a lovely man. Again, he's a big part of the team now, going forward. It took a while for him to get used to us working with our multi-camera setup. It was something he was not used to. So yeah, there was a few elbows and boom poles we had to paint out of shots in the first few shoots with him. Again, it's finding a good sound man, as we found, can be hard to find. You know, we've been through a few sound men on this project. It was thanks to Billy that we found Ian, who just slotted nicely into the team, and he's done some exceptional stuff on the sound side of things for us.
He was great to work with. He understood us, and the boys understood the way he works, and it sort of settled down, didn't it?
Yeah, it became part of the team, isn't it? Again, you know, we sort of, it's just nice when you know how they're going to work, and Ian fitted in well with the team. He worked with Dan, Ian and Dominic well, you could see. So again, once we started doing the filming dates, you bring in these certain key crew members to hopefully they can do it.
Chelsea was the head makeup, in charge of the makeup departments. Always willing to work, go the extra mile for us. Really diligent about her work. She was always there checking the makeup, making sure that the actors didn't need a quick touch up here and there with the hair or makeup. Same with Rafi on makeup, who's worked on several films now. Rafi's just grown and grown and grown, you know. And
Rafi's another one we've seen sort of expanding her role, and you know, and there were days when we were filming on the Shamrock where
she was carrying.
She was the sole makeup artist, and she had to take care of lots of sort of actors.
You give these actors in as ruffians and they come out as RAF pilots. You think, why? The way that they transformed, shaved, hair. On this film as well, we had Holly and Kat, didn't we?
Yeah.
So the four of them working together was a dream
team. Good team that was, yeah.
But we've had an amazing makeup team being, you know, they're always there looking to see, checking how it looks on camera, asking does it need to be touched up, but they're meticulous.
They always had a good attitude as well on set. They always had this like, can-do attitude, but also they're always like full of smiles and positivity, which is again great. Like, if the day is going slow, or if it is we're doing a hard shoot, or filming in the freezing cold like we did early March shoots, and it was absolutely freezing outside when we were filming the night scenes, but having that sort of lovely positive sort of vibe, but the whole team had it, that sort of positive energy that we all had.
The makeup department is something we haven't got to worry about. If they've turned up, we ain't got to worry about that because we know they're doing the job. But it's part of that big team of making everyone feel welcome, helping each other. We'll run, if Rafi or Chelsea or anything need anything, we'll run for them and they will come and run for us.
Phil was our drone pilot. We captured some great shots. Not only did we enable us to create some great point of view shots for the Spitfires and some of the aerial sequences, but we also used a lot of his stuff for the background plates, for the CG scenes, for the actors when they were inside the cockpits. So Phil became a really important part of the team. He came down on several location shoots with us and caught some amazing shots, enabled us to do some really great looking craning shots, flyover sequences.
One of the scenes that Phil helped us to recreate was the scene when the German gunners are on the beach and they're shooting at the Spitfires going overhead. We saw the actual gun footage, the real gun footage Butch Aikman had filmed of that, so we'd seen the actual real Germans on the beach and we wanted to recreate that as best as we could, and the only way we could do that was by using a drone camera. It took us quite a while getting all the timing of the drone had to be spot on to when the Germans were doing a particular action. Yeah, there's pyrotechnics going off and they would have to run at a certain point, and we wanted the drone to hit them at a certain time in that action. So we could follow them as they ran for cover. So it took a while to do. It was about a good couple of hours work just getting that right. But it was some of those shots, that make the scene.
And action!
So to work with somebody like Richie, it was brilliant. It was great to have somebody of his experience and skill to come on set and to work with our actors for to help choreograph the fight scene, because you're working with a professional trained boxer, and Brendan was, he was a skilled boxer.
Bren was a champion boxer in his time, but there is always a difference, I think, between a fight that's just set up and a boxing match. And I think Richie knew that very well, so he wanted it to be a little bit more sloppy and stuff. He's clearly a fantastic fighter. I remember every time he was showing me, he's like, yeah, we'll get that little rib punch in when I duck under and give him the rib punch. And he's like, so this is how you're gonna do it. And every time he showed me, he properly and he was only given a fraction of what he could do. And every time it was absolutely killing me. And every time, but I didn't want to seem weak in front of him for some reason. So I was like, yeah. Every time I got hit, he was like, yeah. And he's like, I'll show you again. I was like, no, I've got it.
He didn't just work as a fight choreographer with us. He also
had a small role in the film.
All right, Joe Lewis. Station Commander would like to see you in his office.
Yeah, he was perfect in the role, absolutely perfect. He looked the part, he was a big, intimidating guy. He looked very much like the part, and he was just
very relaxed in front of the camera.
Such a natural, so yeah, we had a.
He's a nice bloke. He's a really nice bloke.
And again, he's very easy to direct, isn't he? Very easy to work with. So yeah, I think we were really lucky with Richard.
So, yeah, so with the hook, just try and think of your waist, going like that, just try and get, because you don't want to be doing that. You want just a little bit of a movement here. Look there, just twist, turn and throw, turn and throw. That's it. Just think of the.
The whole department of costume was hard because every single person on camera is in a costume.
Yeah, it was a lot more involved than we thought it was going to be. and we spent a lot of time resourcing the costumes, getting the accuracy for the uniforms. And getting them all together was one thing, but then managing them on set, because we'd got so many other jobs to do. We'd get there with racks of costumes and boxes of boots and hats and helmets and whatever. And sometimes the badges were wrong, and somebody had to
do that.
Quickly, we need to take all those badges off and put a new set of badges on. And Elaine came to our aid with that one.
That was one of the toughest parts, I think, of actually doing the costumes, because it was sort of, you know, you had to change badges from Australia and back to RAF, and they're not easy to sew because they're quite hard things. So sewing on lots of badges to different uniforms and stripes, you know, on the uniforms as well. That was probably the toughest. You know, but I got Melissa helped me do that. Sitting there night after night sewing on badges was probably one of the toughest parts of the job, really. The
hours that she spent sewing badges on uniforms, and then the following week taking them off and putting a whole new set on was quite.
Was it all a cottage industry going on? Wasn't
right,
there? We had acting in there or whatever, and then swapping over badges.
And the management of it all.
I just researched a lot on the internet for 1940s, etc. I had great help with a lady at the Birmingham costume hire, looking around her place to see what kind of outfit she'd got, and I spent a lot of time in charity shops looking for additional bits and pieces that might suit for a 1942 movie. It was just really trial and error, and just constantly looking at photographs of those days and sort of like seeing what they wore. It's very difficult when you've actually come to fit an outfit to a certain particular person that's actually playing that part. You know, you think it's easy, oh yeah, I could just go and get a 1942 dress or shoes, whatever. But then there are lots of other issues that go along with that, sizes, stature, and then what looks right on somebody, what colour looks right on somebody. So it was a little bit more problematic than you think, really. It was quite involved, and it was very enjoyable. Beth was very difficult to fit because she's a very small girl, and it was never something we were going to find off the high street. So I purchased one from a company that specialises in that kind of era, and then I just took it to a tailoress in Bromsgrove and had it altered to fit Beth. I went for the green because of the Irish connection. I thought the green would be a nice fit. I think putting Beth together was probably the best, because I found this little jacket, this little fur jacket in one of the Oxfam shops, which cost about, I think it was about £5, which was, you know, just went perfectly with the dress, and I found a pair of shoes in there as well, which was nice. So putting that together, I think, was the best moment, really.
One of the first locations we went to look at together was the actual Withall Bus Museum, because we knew that at the start of the film, Shane was riding on a bus, so we thought we're trying to get these things. We don't want to use green screen. If we can find a real bus, and there's a museum up the road, which was perfect. So we all went to have a look, didn't we? And we spoke to the boss there, or the man who controls it, Dennis Chick, and he couldn't have been more welcoming to us, showing us all the buses. And this was a Birmingham bus, but you want a London bus. So he gave us all this info and technology, knowledge of what to use.
It brought back some serious memories, seeing those old buses.
Yeah, even the smell of them was great. So we knew that we had the right place, and the way that it could accommodate us as well. Dennis was so knowledgeable. We actually gave him the role of the conductor, didn't we, in the end? Dennis was great, the buses, the whole place was great. And then we went to film there on the actual day. They'd set a tent up for us, you know. We had the costumes on one side and the drinks and the cup of tea on the other side. And although the museum was open to the public, they'd put us down one side out the way. Yeah, we went up and down on the bus about 10 times. Ding, ding, back, reverse. I don't know who the driver was. Reverse, back, reverse, back, reverse. But yeah, it was great. And that was one of the very first scenes we shot, even though it was tight on the bus. We put John Donovan there and David Goldstein, who'd helped us. I couldn't believe that we were making a film about Spitfire Paddy, and they'd helped us so much. So we thought, well, rather than come down and just watch the first couple of scenes, let's try and get them in the scenes. So that's really lovely, like you say, a little Easter egg of the people who've helped develop the script to be on the actual first scenes of the bus going through.
Ashdown was great,
wasn't it?
Yeah. It was like walking into a ready-made film set. But it was like
it was even more than that.
It was like stepping back in time.
Yeah, it was like a raw airbase. We
Yeah.
stepped back into.
It was a gold mine.
Yeah.
We walked into the place, into the field where it was set, and wow.
It's a film set.
There's a tank there, there's a gun there, field gun, there's a command post, the NAFI, everything was laid out perfectly. We didn't have to move an awful lot to make it fit the bill. It looked as if it was made for us.
Yeah.
I remember when we started the filming in the morning, we'd look out onto the field and the Spitfire would sit there proud, and it really kind of got everybody excited effectively. They were really happy to be there, and again, it really supported the performances.
The Spitfire itself was really helpful because, do you know how many people know how a Spitfire works? You know, I wasn't coming in off the street knowing. That's not one of the lies on the CV, like I can ride a horse.
We had used one of the Nissan huts as a production base, so we'd have all our cameras and our batteries.
A place for makeup.
Storyboards, notes.
A place to have your food.
So we'd all be all set up in one Nissan hut, that'd be our production hub.
If it rained, we ran inside, didn't we?
Another Nissan hut was used for makeup, and then the rest of them, and costumes, we'd have one for costumes, and then the rest of it was for filming, for set pieces. It became like a home for a while, you know, and on the last day of filming it was a bit sad. You know, we were packing up for the last time and we were all going home and saying goodbye to the places because we'd about a year on and off filming in Ashdown. It was quite sad to see it go, but it was an amazing place to.
When you see all the, especially when all the cast turned out, up in uniforms and all the extras were there, and it suddenly became a living airbase. It was like you literally stepped back into 1942. And everywhere you'd look, you had all the Nissan huts and you had the flagpole and you had the watchtower, and then you'd see just actors walking past.
Oh, please. Oh, no, he's gone.
Maybe later. Right, see it one more time. Let's have an attention, please. Give us a salute. Excuse you.
Elbow.
Yeah, I don't know, it depends what shape.
5, 6, 7, 8. Just spot the fuck out.
Heels together, obviously, so heels should be together and then pointing out a little bit.
Attention! Oh, shit.
Check.
Bloody bright, isn't it? Yeah.
I'm waiting for this to leave.
Simply Spitfire, Terry and Steve Arlo, they were, again, gold dust for us. This was the static Spitfire that we used, and somebody had spotted them in Liverpool or somewhere as we were looking for Spitfires, weren't we? Mm-hmm. And they said, so they'll come to you, which is gold dust to us, rather than us taking a whole film set to wherever a Spitfire was. So we contacted Terry, who was really busy with his Spitfire, but I think he's based in Great Yarmouth.
Yeah, but we used this as a number of different examples. Like we changed the propellers because some were three prop and some were 4 prop, and also the numbering, the lettering, and they bent over backwards for us.
Absolutely, yeah.
Seeing the Spitfire as well for the first time when it was, I mean, they came down in the evening to set it up, and I had to get straight in there. Well, Terry Arlo and Steve Arlo and Caden, great bunch of guys, came down and put the Spitfire up for us. But Terry said, like, get in that Spitfire because you need to know how to get in that Spitfire so you can help the actors. You need to make sure you know how to get in that Spitfire. It was the morning after they set up, when we first arrived on location. It was not long after dawn, and just seeing like the Spitfire and the sun rising, and just seeing the Spitfire out there on this what looked like an airbase. It was just awesome. You know, you just have to kind of pinch yourself. Is this real? You know, when you think about like 2 years ago, we'd pitched this idea to Nigel on a handshake. Should we make a short film about a Spitfire pilot called Spitfire Paddy? And here we are, and on this airbase, and with the sun coming up, and just seeing this Spitfire right in front of us. It was one of those moments I just had to pinch myself and say, I can't believe we've done it.
It was great. I loved the Spitfire. Got really good at getting in and out of it. Really good at getting in and out of it. I think I got in and out of it about 50 million times. It was incredible. It kind of gave me more of an appreciation for what these men did, because there's not a lot of space in there, and it's not comfortable, you know? It's not like business class or anything. And they're up there in a dogfight, making these incredible turns and, you know, putting their lives on the line. It just really kind of opened my eyes to just how incredible these men, who were all about 19 and 20, were.
We had to stop filming on Paddy's death scene, didn't we?
And I remember I was in the cockpit of the Spitfire. We heard this noise overhead, and it was like, oh, cut, there's a plane going overhead. So I jumped out of the Spitfire. We looked up overhead, and it was literally a Spitfire going over our set.
And sure enough, he flew right over the top of us.
It was amazing to have all of us just look up and stop the film for a Spitfire.
And watched this Spitfire fly over.
It kind of felt like Bren was almost saluting us, you know, which was kind of nice. Because God, I hope he enjoyed what we did.
Things are meant to happen, aren't they? And for that, you couldn't write that. You're actually filming a Spitfire cockpit scene, especially the death scene.
And over he comes.
And over the actual Spitfire comes. So things like that, as we're going through the film, make you think, well, we're on the right track, you know. Rob Harrison played Mac in 7 Days, and again, another longer film. But he's such a lovely, relaxed actor that they wanted to get him back. So I know that we were going to shoot that scene earlier, and because Rob was on holiday, we rescheduled the scene because the boys really wanted Rob in that part. Because when they wrote, sometimes I suppose Ian and Dominic write knowing what actor is going to be in the scene, and they did that with Robert Harrison to play Chiefy. So they didn't really want to cast or recast. So when Rob came down to the set for those couple of days, it was just great to have him back again. Such a lovely chap, nice actor, just lovely to be on set with.
Was it hard work sitting down?
It was, very much.
Post-match interview, come on.
Is that a video?
Yeah.
It was very exciting, and I really liked it.
Do you see yourself as a career in the painting industry on Spitfires?
Yeah.
Definitely. Mate, definitely deserve it. Well done for today. You've done a fantastic job.
Because one of the main things of the Shamrock Spitfire film is that you have to have a shamrock on the Spitfire, and it was how are we going to get something that can stick on a Spitfire without wrecking the paint or the glue. And
you had a bit of a problem with air bubbles, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, we had
you had to smoothing them out with your credit card.
Tim Andrews from Hollywood Monster said he had the answer. He said it's more like them car stickers that you put on the back of.
Yeah.
You can.
Like a vinyl.
A vinyl. So he made it to that spec, and when we saw it, it was perfect, wasn't it?
Mm.
Perfect size. But it's easier when it's in front of you. But trying to get it that day, we had to try and get it onto the actual Spitfire. That was a tough game, wasn't it? You stand back and have a look. I think it worked perfectly, didn't it?
The whole idea of the lucky lighter came from when we were reading about Spitfire fighter pilots and how so many of them had their own lucky charms. You know, some sort of talisman they would have. It could be a teddy bear, or it could be a lighter, or it could be like a thumbs up figure, which were popular in the First War. We wanted to put that in there. We wanted to put this kind of lucky item in there just to convey that kind of belief that a lot of his airmen had. But I think for Jonathan, it was just that moment of connecting with that lighter. I think that's where his emotion came from. I think what you're seeing on that screen is quite real.
It was under his bed.
I think the cast kind of really felt it when we sort of took Blake out of the picture. I think the rest of the cast really felt that they felt his presence was no longer there. It was a tangible thing that they all felt. This superstitious belief was something held by Brendan. On Brendan's final mission, he always used to play Tangerine on the record player. The morning of his final mission, he didn't play it. That was a superstitious belief. If you don't play your song, your particular song, it's going to be bad luck. So we didn't show that in the film, but we wanted to give a nod to that sort of superstitious belief that was very big with Brendan himself. So that's part of the reason why that scene is in the film.
We were looking for an internal of a pub. We knew that would be quite hard to dress a whole pub up because the camera is going around the table and you're going to see the whole pub rather than just a little corner.
But they brought that down to Hills Court here in the car park and popped it up, and literally built it on location. It's a small
pub. It doesn't look it in the film, but it is a pretty small pub. We filled it with loads of extras. But it's authentically 1940s.
Yeah, it's
down to the last detail.
You know, to put it on a trailer, they come up here on the Friday and they set it up for the whole day for us on the Friday. It was so hot, wasn't it? And so on Saturday morning.
All the right atmospherics as a pub.
Yeah, when you walked in it and they'd finished it.
Yeah, spray a bit of fake smoke around and it was like literally a busy pub in the 40s.
Yeah,
it was fantastic.
because it was set up for it, so we didn't have to do anything, just all the bar, the photographs, the mirrors, the dartboards, the tables, everything was just there for us. We just did supply the actors. And we had some 1940 extras there, didn't we, on that day as well, and costumes, just giving it a really good atmosphere.
One of the hottest days of the year. We're filming in there with our crew, and it was just sweating buckets. Yeah, we're just pouring sweat. And those guys are in the RAF uniforms, wool jackets and trousers. You know, those poor guys, and we had to keep breaking for them just to go out and have, you know, just to take your jacket off, cool down, have a glass of water. So it was a quite a tough shoot, that was.
Action.
Bless them all, the long and the short and the tall. Bless all the sergeants and WO1s. Bless all the corporals and their blinking sons, 'cause we're saying goodbye to them all. It's back to the blinkings they crawl. You'll get no promotion this side of the ocean. So cheer up, my lads.
Bless them all.
It's 8 points, please. Thank you.
Hey Trixie, what's a nice girl while you doing a war like this, eh?
But yeah, on film it looks great, doesn't it? You would never think it was a pub or pub. There at the bar and the barman.
Well, there were working pumps. I don't think they were alcoholic, but that's okay.
It was filming in those tight spaces was terrible because we had 3 cameras in that shoot, so it was trying to find out where we weren't going to get into each other's shot, or we weren't going to see a reflection in the mirrors. So it took a while to get the cameras right as well. So it was a long shoot, but what we got from it,
it's great.
Looks brilliant. That pub looks brilliant on screen.
But yeah, just that they went the extra mile for us on that one, I think. Because again, it was the hottest day in the year, wasn't it? And they were all the actors in their costumes, and we were inside this oven. I think even the Licky Hills was on fire the next day.
Hanbury Church is a stone's throw from my house, and the lady who takes care of the church, a fabulous lady called Judy Berman, she's my next door neighbour. When I asked her about the possibility of using the church for a scene, she was absolutely delighted. And she went away and approached the parochial council who look after the church. And everything went well. They were really pleased. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, great. And it was one of the hottest days, but it was a pleasure to be in there working, wasn't it?
Oh, it was so hot. We had the choir boys in there as well on that scene.
The choir boys, yeah.
They came as 5 unruly kids, and then 45 minutes later, Elaine had them all in a row in red. I thought, when they first came in, I thought, oh, we're stuffed.
Yeah, I didn't think we were going to be able to control them.
No, I thought,
one of them's one of my grandkids.
I thought, we're going to have to rewrite the scripts here.
Well done, boys, well done. That's it. We are done for today.
The flight simulator at Goodwood, it's the only Spitfire simulator in the country that's used to train Spitfire pilots.
Nigel Cofferwell was great. All the people that actually sat in it, he spent time basically almost giving them a flying lesson, a dry flying lesson. Yeah. And that was an amazing piece of kit, that was. It was so realistic that when you stood next to it, even though
you felt giddy,
the scenery turned around and you'd start to hang on to something and I'm going to fall over, you know.
It was a bit like nervy because when you see it moving along, it's almost, I don't know if you'd call it the uncanny valley thing, but it's kind of like your brain takes a while to be like, oh wait, I'm not actually flying here, so calm down.
We wanted to use that because for Shane particularly, we wanted him to experience what it was like to fly in a real Spitfire. We thought if we can get him into this simulator, he's actually flying. So when you're seeing him on camera,
some of those shots,
he's actually flying. To all intents and purposes, he's really flying a Spitfire.
Had a little bit of an issue landing the plane. I think I crashed about 7 or 8 times, which is true to life of Bren. I was just being a character actor, you know? What we had to do was swap me out with a proper pilot so he could land the plane and just not shoot his face. So I never landed that plane.
But we also wanted to show the changing dials, how the dials change when, depending on what manoeuvres they're doing. Yeah, so it was to get the live feedback off the dials as he was moving, but also just to get Shane into a real flying situation. It gave us opportunity as well to think about the shots while we were in there. Where do we need to put the cameras in there? Because with the simulator, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of, you've got the whole computer system behind it, and you've got the screen, and you've got the lights. So you've got to be careful where you put the cameras, and from a CG point of view, what can we do with this? How can we make this work? You know, do we need to take the background out? How are we going to do that? What are the best shots? And lighting, we had to bring the lighting in, so it gave us an opportunity to play with the lighting the night before Shane came down and the cast came down. But I think it was also good that some of our team also got to sit in.
He said, anybody else want to go? And you know, most of the crew that were there,
I think Dan had a go, didn't he?
Yeah, got to
Steve, and Rafi.
We all got to try our hands at actually flying a Spitfire, which was really great experience. And Nigel made it really easy. We jumped in, we had all the information that we needed, and Nigel really put us at ease as well with the flying. I managed to eventually do a victory roll, which was really positive. But again, it really immersed you into the feeling of what it was like to fly a Spitfire.
We found very early on in the film that having a couple of camera people and sound people sitting on the wing of a Spitfire while it's flying through the air in a battle was a little bit risky. So the cockpit came in very handy.
We know the owner of the Firs really well. You do, don't you, John?
And I do, yeah. It's my daughter.
Yeah. So that was quite handy.
There was some nice settings for the outdoors. The scene when they're in the field together, the romantic bit.
Yeah, that was there.
Yeah.
And then we needed a place for the boxing scene, and that was perfect there as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
For the boxing scene, yeah, that was great. That's what we had Big Richie Woodall in there helping us with that one. So yeah, it was perfect. And again,
that was of course when we encountered Red.
Yeah, we saw Red. And again, that was boxing, and then we had to go at 12. 12 we wrapped it. It literally started raining, didn't it?
Yeah.
But then we done a sleeping scene in the barn, and after the sleeping scene, then it was Shane's birthday. I think Shane turned 30 the next day, so that was really nice to sing him happy birthday. And I think we even got him a little model Spitfire.
So I think the best way to spend your birthday is doing something you'll remember. So having a day on set with a bunch of lovely people was like the best thing you could ask for.
Shane, we didn't forget it was your birthday, so all the crew got you a nice card. So when we were looking around for Paddy's house, so we needed a 1940 house, 1940 locations, up by Johnny's, of course, Avencroft Museum, which is perfect. It's if
right
would they let us film
Yeah.
there? And so we went to approach the management there, and they were again really lovely. As long as we shot on the days where there was no public, which was better for us anyway. But yeah, Avencroft, it was minefield of some great locations. But that one, the Naylor's Cottage, that was, when we saw that was perfect, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Inside and outside, which is unusual on a location to have both in and out. Normally you've got to have the in and then you shift to the out. But to have both was just a perfect shot. Yeah, so we shot that on the days off, and that was the internal of Paddy's house and the external when he leaves. And also at the top of the film, when Emily's talking to the children, it's the Naylor's Cottage, which is the upstairs as well. So it's one little house with all 3 locations, and the kitchen. It had the kitchen there as well. We were looking for a officer's mess. That was and it had to be sort of like a stately home and a nice house, because they commandeered these places, didn't they? So it couldn't be sort of a hotel room dressed up. It had to be a proper sort of stately home type of place. Ian and Dominic found a photograph from Cofton Hall, because I think it just recently sold.
When you first walk into the room, it was jaw-dropping, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, look at this.
It was really grand, had Absolutely beautiful features. Yeah, it's a super venue. It's great to know that it's been used for many different purposes. It's been owned by many different people. For us as filmmakers to be able to go in and kind of utilise again that heritage, and especially somewhere that's quite local to us as well.
I thought I'd go and ask them, and I just went down and asked, and the dog nearly, I thought my life's over when the dog came running out. I thought 4, 3, 2, and then I stop. But we spoke to the owners there, Eva and Ed. When we said what we wanted to do, and it was the Spitfire film and everything, they couldn't have been more accommodating. We shot 2 days there, didn't we? Shot 2 full days there. The outside of the party scene, and we also did the officers' mess.
When we filmed the final scene with Jean and Brent together outside Cofton Hall, it was absolutely freezing.
It was so important to see was because it's a build up to the big kiss, isn't it? And all through the film, they never get to kiss, they never get to share a screen kiss. It's always about to happen, but what either one or it's either Jean or Brent pulls away, so they never actually get to kiss, and this is the moment when they finally sort of come together.
But it was freezing cold, and these guys were, we were all like wrapped up in thick coats filming it, and these guys were just, especially Bethany, you know, a dress on. We were standing here doing take after take. She was absolutely, in between the takes, we just wrap them, a blanket around her.
You could see the breath.
But yeah, it was freezing cold. The end result is one of my favourite scenes in the film. It's magic. It's a scene where the chemistry between the two of them just comes alive, doesn't it?
It's also the last scene between Brendan and his dad, Andy. As well. So there's almost such a lovely played out scene as well by Shane and Owen. It's played out so lovely. It's a scene of so few words, but so much is said in those few words between the two actors. It's a sort of resolution between father and son. The whole idea of it, setting it outside, is because that says everything about who Andy and who Brendan was, because they were always men who hated being the centre of attention. They were never men who were on the dance floor dancing with girls. They were always outside the fringes of the dance hall or outside, never one to be in the limelight. So it was such a lovely little scene, and it's played out so nicely between Shane and Owen.
So the scene in the mess hall involved quite a few cast members, a few extras, there's a bit of wrestling on the ground as well.
Kind of ad-libbed that. We worked out roughly what we wanted him to do, and then we just let the guy sort of ad-lib it. So we had 3 cameras on that and the iPhone used on it. Again, it's one of those scenes where you see the chemistry between the actors. You just see the laugh that they're having, and it's the first time we get to see Chris, Bluey.
Action. Right. Where's my head?
When you see him, the first shot we have of Chris is the camera's moving in on him as he's getting up, because the guys are up on top of him, and then they get off, and then he sort of gets up to onto his feet, and the camera moves up to him, and it's, "Where's my hat?" That's his first line, and that was Bluey's catchphrase, "Where's my hat?" When Shane comes into the scene, the first thing he sees is Bluey's hat. His cricketing cap is on the floor, and he bends it up to pick it up, and later on in the film that becomes a very symbolic image of their relationship. But it's beautifully played out, that scene is.
You see them as young lads, what they were. Because when you look at pictures, you forget how young they were.
Just having a laugh, aren't they?
Yeah, but they were incredibly young. You think what you was doing when you was 21 years old, what you was doing when you was 20, 19.
You see photographs of Brendan and Bluey, they don't look 21. Brendan was 20, 21 in those photographs, and he does not look like a man of 20, 21. So you do have to remind the audience sometimes that these are just young kids, really.
Looking at the script, it was evident that we needed to shoot some sand dunes. I found these beaches up in North Devon, Saunton and Croyd. And whenever I mentioned it to anyone, I go, "Oh yeah, they got some fabulous sand dunes." I thought, "Why didn't you tell me that when I first asked you?" So I got in touch with the owners of the beaches up there, got on quite well with them, and saw some photographs, and drove down there I had to go to see another guy further south to discuss the armoury and the pyrotechnics. And on my way back, I called in at the beach, and Lane and myself stayed there in a hotel there overnight, and we went walking around, and we both agreed this is just what we need. This is perfect.
The beach though, the location was great. The Saunton Sands, it's where they trained for some of the Normandy landings. So you've got that history anyway associated, but the reason why it was used for training was because it looks so similar to some of the terrain over in Normandy in France.
We had a little bit of difficulty because we were using some drones, to get the approach in, POV shots of the Germans. And because it's in an MOD area, registered area, we had to show that we had to get the adequate insurance and all this, and the pilots' qualifications. A few hoops to jump through, but we did it. And Phil, the drone pilot, was great.
Yeah.
He spent a lot of time when we actually did the shooting, helping the boys get the shots that they wanted. He actually used my drone for that purpose, and he says,
You're not getting paid any extra.
Yeah, I'll use your drone. I said, why is that? He says, because I don't mind a drop in the water.
It was a really sunny day, and they went out on that mission, and we wanted to recreate it as it was. So what are we going to do if it's raining? And so we were all thinking about, how are we going to shoot it? We're going to bring artificial lighting with us, so we're going to have to somehow use green screen on it, or what are we going to have to do in post on it? But it turned out to be absolutely amazing day. Absolutely amazing, hot sunshine right from 9 o'clock in the morning to when by the time we wrapped at 5:30 at night. It's just an absolutely beautiful day. So, our co-producer was at work again.
Did have somebody threaten to kick the drone at one point?
I had another uncredited role that day where I had to put a high-vis jacket on and go down with a megaphone, telling everybody on the beach there'll be some firing, some rifle shots going off. Don't worry, they're all blanks, and not to panic. Don't panic.
It was a bit funny on shooting on the beach because we didn't obviously have the beach to ourselves. You had your normal civilians on the beach enjoying what they thought was an early spring walk with their dog or something on the beach, and then suddenly hearing a German machine gun,
42 machine gun firing,
burst of fire happening from the dunes.
We did get a scream. Got a scream from somebody on the beach. That must have set the cat amongst binges.
I think it's a wrap, guys. Look decent from there, well done. Cheers, guys, I think it's a wrap. Cheers, guys.
I was trying to find some, and I found one guy who said we make replica suits. And I phoned him up, and we started talking about what it is that we wanted. And he says, well, are you aware of what we do here? I said, well, no, tell me. He says, we're a training centre for Tiger Moth aeroplanes, and we use these suits all the time. Immediately offered to lend us a couple. And so we got talking, and I told him we do actually have a scene in the film, the Tiger Moths, and he said, well, this is it. We've been waiting for you.
Perfect.
And as it happened, they'd actually, I think they got 3 Tiger Moths, and 2 of them were actually camouflage paintwork. Again, perfect, just what we wanted. So I went down to see them, fixed it all up, met this fabulous guy, Clive Davidson. He couldn't do enough for us.
Clive was great at the Tiger Moth Centre. Clive and Annabelle, she was the engineer, both of them were great. Really looked after us. You went up in the Tiger Moth with Clive, didn't you?
Yeah, and Clive, he stepped in and became a stunt flyer for us. He was a body double for Jack in the flying sequences. But it was amazing to get up there and actually using the iPhone just to get some amazing POV shots from actually inside the Tiger Moth, which we used in the sequences. But yeah, that was obviously one of the highlights, for me it was one of the highlights of the filming experience, actually getting up into the Tiger Moth. You just think this is where Brendan would have been sitting. Brendan would have been sitting in one of these, when he was training. So again, it's just one of those sort of experiences that helps bring you a bit closer to the character and to the story. Absolutely amazing. It's a bit nerve-wracking first when we first get into it because it's so open. You're used to sitting in an airplane, you're covered, completely covered, and then suddenly you've got no covering on you, and the door's really low down. So when he's banking, you feel like, oh, am I going to slip out? Am I going to slip out?
Clive was great. We actually put him in the film as a disgruntled farmer on seeing this plane crashed into his hedge.
We had Jack Lane down again, who
Jack
played
Lane.
who played Blind Dave, and he lives down that way. And we needed the scene to be a bit uplifted, you know, because it's a bit comical.
The thing with Jack is he like entertains the crew when he's with us. Now, he came down the night before and stayed in the hotel with us, and he's just a natural born entertainer. So when Jack's there, he just brings those good vibes with him, you know, to set, and he's such a lovely guy to work with.
When we wrote the part, we knew we needed a comic actor, and there's only one little guy we had in mind for it. As soon as we knew this guy has to be a bit of a, you know, a kind of comic type of performance, so we knew Jack was the only guy for that part.
What an honour, thank you. You just turn the mics off, please.
Completely wrapped on Shane.
And having Jack and Shane work together on that was great, wasn't it? It was.
Yeah, and Phil.
Jack
Phil was there
Murphy.
again with the
Phil with the drone.
With the
yeah.
drone, yeah. Getting the shots that they needed for the crash landing.
Yeah. So that scene comes together well. I had an uncredited with the wheel over the bush. If the wheel goes over the bush.
Was that you? The party scene probably took more organising than any of the others.
We found Chadsley Corbett.
And there was no Spitfires in it.
We found that early, didn't we? That was one of the first locations we went to have a look at with Maria.
Yeah.
And I kept putting it off and just putting it off and putting it off.
Well, there were so many elements that, you know, the boys go, okay, here's the script, this is what we're doing. We did a lot of deliberation over the band and the entertainment. We went from one thing to another and back to another.
Yeah.
Some of them were cost prohibitive. I found some great sort of Andrews type singers, but they lived miles away. It cost us a fortune to have got them in. And then an old pal of mine called Keith Smart, who I worked with in the Berries. I told him what we were doing, and he straight away come up with Gary Alcock's band with Tina, his wife, the singer. And I went, oh, okay. And I went to see them and got back to the boys and says, I think we've found what we need here. And they can also, some of the recordings, we didn't want to use the original recordings for potential copyright infringements. We actually got the band to play the old songs that we wanted in the movie.
All of them gone, nothing but blue skies from now on.
They were great and they loved it. And they
You can't tell, I
absolutely-
mean, she's recorded that the day before, didn't they? The day before.
That's right,
the filming.
yeah,
And we used playback on the day. We done the party at the end, which worked perfectly, didn't it?
Yeah.
You know, because we had all the dresses to find, the band, like that, the band and the hall.
We saved the cabbage till last.
And we just, you know, it was just dressing it. And I think and throwing everybody at the end, it was more, it felt like a bit of a party scene because we'd done all the hard graft, the costumes and everything. And it was nice to get Bluey, and Max came back, didn't he?
Yeah.
And
the food on the buffet was so good.
The people kept pinching the food. Yeah, we had Sally Wood there and the children, Grace and Alice, pinching the cakes, didn't you? That was great. Except someone ate the props, didn't they?
Yeah.
That was the problem with the having the food there.
Oh, here we go.
Can I just say, Nige, your signs are absolutely amazing.
Oh,
did you know that?
It's all in the location signs.
After you. The boys are here.
Now he comes, look. Hey, all the world's done.
Are we all sad then?
Not the making of it.
Oh,
Just take a look.
How's it going, mate? You alright? Alright. Are we all sad then?
Oh, well, not yet. I've got an engagement party straight away. That looks nice, doesn't it, Dan?
It looks awesome.
We look back to the future.
Finally, it is actually, isn't it? Yeah. Actually, it does. Yeah, we just need that band on. I can't think the band.
Filming on last day of any shoot is always both sad and happy. You're happy that the stress of worrying about
You've completed something.
all the actors going to be available at the same time? Is the weather going to be on side? All that stress, you're not going to have that anymore, but you're really sad in a way that it's the last day you're going to be working with certain actors and certain crew members, and it is just sad. It's a sort of
it's more sad than anything.
Yeah,
it's
sad.
something's coming to an end that you've been enjoying for the last 3-year journey.
Yeah, but there is a sense of relief that you've got it in the bag now. You've got to start working on the editing.
It was a great couple of filming days. The party was, and I think that was the perfect location, wasn't it? Plenty of parking outside, and it was just a happy, joyful weekend. And of course, that was
wrap
of the whole film.
Cheers, guys. Well done. Although Nige isn't here. Cheers, Nige.
Cheers, guys. We made it. Cheers, all.
I had to do like a huge cut on all of his leg. But for that, I used sculpt gel because I just created it around and make it quick because I knew that'd dry very quickly considering it wasn't the hottest place, that room. So I wanted to make sure I used something that he wouldn't have to stay out with his leg open for ages and I wouldn't have to go with a dryer over it. So I just used sculpt gel and just painted it as well in Chelsea's blood, just to make it a bit more realistic and more fresh. And I added these little bits of plastic that I got from my toilet when it got redone. Yeah, I got
it's funny what you find when your house has been renovated.
Yeah, and I just used that and it stuck to his leg.
It looks amazing, that does.
Thank you, guys.
I'm just special makeup effects. Sort of lower down as well.
Special effects usually isn't my thing, and if you do something you're not usually that confident in, so I went away, had a little practice with different materials to figure out which materials are going to work the best for what I wanted. There was a bit of a time where I was panicking, thinking, okay, this isn't looking quite right, but it was just building up the product and putting the colour in there so it looked as realistic as possible. But he was a great actor, he was so fun to work with, and even just the way that he delivered his character too, it almost added that humour to the way that he looked, and it's almost like you're taking his personality and his appearance and they didn't match, but it really worked, and it makes it interesting, I think, when you see a character like that on screen.
So Bluey is, as we found out, is a common nickname in Australia for lads with red hair. That's just what they do, just to take the piss, I suppose. Because it was such a, I suppose, not a crucial part of his identity, but it was famous about him. He had this bright red hair, and I was cast despite not having red hair. So we, on the first day when we met all the cast and crew and so on. And again, because of the nature of things, we had to get launched in quick. So me and Rafi, who's our MUA, we went through all different types of sprays and dyes and stuff to find a colour that we could also wash out in case I was off to another project or whatever it was.
I ended up using this other, this brand spray called Crayola, which would do spray just for TV and film and theatre. So we ended up using that on his hair, and in 15 minutes his hair is done and it just looks completely.
You've got to get the technique right, because you can spray it, but
it's not as natural.
And also the spray will go everywhere. Yes. So you've had to do it outside, haven't
outside.
you?
Yeah, outside with a little cup and in a brush, just spray into the little cup, get the brush in, and just
But he's really patient, which is
very
good.
patient. He just relaxes and just chills, and we just chat about his daughter.
It was my first day actually on set, and I said, right, Rafi, let's use these products. It's just a little bit of Egyptian magic, and it's almost like a Vaseline really, but it allows this spray water to really stick to it, and it bubbles, so it looks like sweat, rather than just drenching the person in water, because it doesn't necessarily work with filming. And I think there are certain scenes where without the sweat being there, it's not bringing it to life, and it really just sets the scene of what is actually happening.
Yeah, especially with the pilots when they're inside the cockpit, I feel like it definitely makes the whole scene with the sweat and everything.
I agree, and I think sometimes, well actually a lot of the time, without the elements of makeup, the audience can't connect as well. So seeing just small tweaks or small methods of application here and there can really help the audience to understand what is going on in that scene and how those individuals would be feeling at that time as well.
And I find that even the bits of dirt that we've added to the faces as well for some of the scenes.
For the oil flicks, the splatters.
I thought that was really good.
That was actually fun to do because we lined them all up and said, right guys, we're going in now, and we just flicked them all. It was eyeshadow that we'd mixed with water, and it just worked really well. And they all had fun.
They had to like smudge it all over them, so it was quite good. I'd say like definitely the ladies who had the longer hair, so like Eleanor, for example, definitely 'cause she got like quite long hair. Even Sarah, she was like very long hair as well. So like definitely the people who've got, ladies got very long hair, we have to kind of like curl everything and style it. Because the men are easy peasy, just like side parting and like you're done, ready to go, brush it to the side and off they go.
My most challenging is probably Sophia, the nurse. She had the thickest hair that I've ever worked with, and I think that was my first week, my first block. So when she sat in the chair, I don't think I was quite prepared, but we got it in place. It was the amount of grips that I used to keep that hair in place, but it all worked, and the hat sat perfectly well. So yeah, that was the most challenging, but I think just spending the time on it, it paid off because her hair looked amazing.
I think it's a simple answer, isn't it, why we chose guerrilla filmmaking? Budget. It's low budget, and it's the can-do attitude, isn't it? It's utilising everything and anything to make a film. Whether it's an iPhone to shoot something, but you sort of have to have a plan as well, because you've got to know what you're doing, what scene's going to be filmed, how a scene's going to be filmed.
It was quite planned, wasn't it, as was planned quite intricately.
I think in a way you have to have maybe even more of a plan in a way, because you've got to sit down at one day with your producers and say, we've only got this amount of money to spend on this scene here. So how do we maximise that budget? If we put this amount to doing that, if we use these people, if we bring in these people here, could we get a better deal with working with these people? So I think in a way you've got to plan even more on a guerrilla filmmaking style. But I think it's the number one rule for guerrilla filmmaking for me is being adaptable. You've got to adapt, because you don't know, you can't guarantee that you're going to work with the best lights, the best cameras. And you've got to be willing to work with what you've got, and don't just turn your nose up at a piece of equipment because you bought it on Amazon for 50 quid,
It's not Netflix approved.
Yeah, you just don't get hung up on cameras and equipment. If it does the job, it does the job. And I think you've got to have that mindset for guerrilla filmmaking. Just use what you have. And that's why I think iPhones and smartphones are great for independent filmmakers, because they're cinema quality cameras you've got in your pocket.
Because we knew we wouldn't be able to get a specialised cockpit we could pull apart. We knew we were going to be, if we got a Spitfire, we knew we were going to be working within a confined space. So obviously the first thing we thought of was using a phone to film it.
Because we wanted the camera inside the cockpit, not outside looking in. We wanted it inside the cockpit with the pilots. So it was, we thought, let's experiment with an iPhone. And we looked online at some of the test footage.
The iPhone 13 had just come out.
Yeah, and we looked at some of the test footage people were shooting and we thought, yeah, this looks really impressive. So we got our hands on an iPhone 13 and shot some test footage ourselves, and we found it not only did it look great, but it responded well to the grade. It was shot in ProRes, which is professional recording format.
But we did find out you needed an ND filter on it.
Yeah, you need to get accessories to be able to use it as a professional film camera.
There are limits with the iPhone. Like it's terrible. You have problems with hotspots. I think it's particularly when you're filming.
Yeah, it's not a perfect camera, but
there are limits.
It is. I think for what it is amazing. It is an amazing camera for what it is. And you look at those cockpit shots that we filmed, you know, the final cockpit, you wouldn't believe it was an iPhone. And I think it blends quite seamlessly with the stuff that we shot on the other cameras, the Blackmagic and the Sony.
A lot of the moving shots as well filmed in the iPhone. Gimbal was used, so a lot of the tracking shots and running with the pilots as they scramble to their planes was shot on an iPhone on a gimbal. You know, just running alongside with the actors.
Nice to have the freedom, you know, when you've got an iPhone. You haven't got the bulkiness of a dedicated camera like the Blackmagic camera. It's just a small little camera that you can take anywhere and you can stick it places that you can't stick a dedicated camera. So I think it's that freedom that we love about it as well. Dan, who filmed all the behind-the-scenes footage, used his smartphone, his Samsung, to film a lot of the behind-the-scenes footage. And the stuff we've seen looks amazing.
Most of it's been shot on Samsung.
You would not believe it was shot on a phone. And so
4K quality. They're bigger than you know. You watch a film that was shot in 1980s or 1990s, and these films that are shot in 4K, it's bigger than those cinema movies, and it's 4K. No, they were shot in 2K.
We wanted to recreate a couple of iconic photographs, particularly of Brendan, and one was in the Spitfire. So we recreated him sitting in the Spitfire where he's looking towards the camera. We got Shane to do the exact same pose and recreated that. And we used it in the film then, in a prop. It was a magazine prop. It's on the front cover, that picture is. And that's just a nod to that photograph. And then we've also recreated a photograph with Brendan and Bluey when they're at the dinner table together. And we use that in a newspaper sequence, montage sequence in the film. We deliberately chose the Technicolor look because we wanted the film to feel like it was an old movie. So we wanted it to have that sort of, because a lot of inspiration for films were the old classics, the old 1940s, 50s sort of war movies, and we wanted it to have the feeling of those sort of movies. In a way, it's sort of homage to those kind of movies.
A lot of the John Ford films, a lot of the old westerns, it's just there's a certain feel to those films, there's a certain character.
A certain aesthetic that we really loved.
The hardest challenge for us was getting rid of that perfect digital image, making it look imperfect, because all the little imperfections you get in the old film stock, it adds character to the film, adds a visual look to the film. You watch any John Ford Western film, it just has that feel and character that you don't get in modern films. The CG shots, we had no choice but to use CG for the wide shots of the aircraft's movement, because we obviously had a limited budget to work to, and hiring a Spitfire it's just prohibitively expensive for us. So we had to use the CG for most of the aerial battle sequences.
The effects for us was never going to be. Our approach was to use several techniques, not just one, not just rely on CG, just miniatures. We wanted to mix them together so people couldn't see how the film was done. And I think each technique has its own strengths. Sometimes you can't beat a miniature for realism. How good miniatures can be is to watch Davy Putnam's Memphis Spell. All the scenes in that, the scenes where the planes are taking off and landing, they're miniatures. And you would not, it looks real. So we're big fans of miniatures. We've been dictated to by budget as well. So we've had to lean on CG more than we would have perhaps liked to have leaned on it. And we've also used a real Spitfire. We've used real Spitfires, we've used real planes whenever possible. So what you're watching in the final result is a mixture of CG, real planes and miniatures. The scene in the beach when the Germans machine gunned, all that was recorded on location by Dan. But that's all authentic sounds from the machine gun, because we used a real machine gun.
When it came to actually thinking about where are we going to do this cast and crew night?
Well, the difficult thing about organising the cast and crew night was there were so many of them.
I know.
140, just over 140 actors and extras.
And then all the
locations. It was close on 200 people involved in that.
So we knew it had to be a bigger place. But this,
and they all wanted to bring partners.
Yeah, this Millennium Point kept coming back to me, but I kept thinking it's slightly out of Birmingham or just slightly out of town centre. But then I thought, well, they do the Birmingham Film Festival there, and we knew Dean and Kevin. And so we rang Dean and Kevin, they said it was great. And then Paul Cadman, who supported the film as well, hasn't he, in Birmingham. He said, have you tried the Millennium Point? And this name kept coming up so many times before, we're going to have to go and have a look. And we went down and met Vicky there. It was a bit of a shock when we walked up the stairs. Remember, we saw the screen for the first time.
And Jesus, lads, could you have picked a bigger screen?
We were blown away by the size of it.
It's an old IMAX screen.
And our first thought was, is the image going to hold up?
But it was just so perfect because they had the Christmas lights on outside. You said, we'll leave them on for you. And we'll light up the whole place green. It was just it was perfect.
It was just a really nice night, getting to reconnect and just having come through the whole thing of 2 years, you know, and how difficult it is to make a film if you have an unlimited budget. So to make a film on such a limited budget, like, it really was such an incredible journey that we got there, and that was kind of the night to be like, sit back, we did it, like, you know, which was really nice.
But we didn't expect so many people to show up. We did not expect it. I mean, we were hoping that we'd have a good turnout, but to have a full house,
virtually full
pretty
house.
much. We've been so close to it for so long. Now we're sort of presenting it to this big audience. You know, there's always that, are they going to like it? I know, are they?
Yeah, because we had the Finucane family down on that night as well. Brendan, Finucane, Casey, and some of the Finucanes and Physics were down there, I think. So we had family members down who were there to watch, a film about their great uncle or their uncle. But to get that reaction at the end of the night from Brendan, and when he came up to us at the end of the screening and said, you brought him back. You brought him back, and he gave us a big hug.
That was it, wasn't it?
That made the night.
Yeah, we knew we'd done a good job then.
Then we had the BBC come down, which was lovely.
Yeah.
You know, and had a quick interview with us.
John was he's a lovely bloke. He just made us feel so relaxed.
It was nice to get that we had the interest there.
Yeah.
You know, like we had the mainstream media, or the BBC was interested in the story. I think it reassured us that there was an audience for the story. There was a genuine interest in the story. So it was great, and it gave us great publicity at the right time for the film, just in time for the sort of Birmingham big sort of screening of the film. I think the Spitfire thing was around because our dad's always been into Spitfires, and recently he'd been reading a lot of books on Spitfires. Not only were they incredibly brave, but there's so many colourful characters. The one name that pops out was Spitfire Paddy.
The crowning glory then was the screening when 350 people in that room were just over the moon with the film, and we couldn't
wish for a better reception, could you?
We nearly had to go to hospital with all the pats on the backs we had that night, and it was just great. It was we were on cloud nine, weren't we, that night?
It's because some people saw that film, had no idea about what they were about to watch.
Yeah.
And you had some Army, RAF people there as well, and you had some film people, and you had some guests. So all of that amalgamation, and then to get the feedback from all of them.
Yeah.
Everywhere, whether they knew about the film or not, it was nice that people just loved the battle scenes, but also the emotion. They kept talking about the emotion of the film, which kept coming back and back and back again, didn't it? How do you balance the battle with the emotion?
I could feel that because I was at the back of the auditorium for the latter part of the film, especially where a lot of the sad bits are, and I looked across the audience, and you could feel. Oh dear, I could see the occasional one.
The laughs were in the right place, and the emotion, the wave of emotion was like, when we just watch it ourselves, you think, I hope that works. You don't know if it works, do you? But when you feel 300 people coming back, you think, wow.
The work that the lads did on this is just exceptional. I remember Beth and myself were sitting together, and she was very nervous, but I thought she was just incredible. I think she steals the movie, to be honest.
Yeah, but
it sort of hits you again second time, doesn't it?
I always thought, watching those clips, that they all worked for me. But as I say, am I too close to it? I want to see how other people react to it.
Yeah, it must be lovely for Ian and Dominic, who wrote the actual words, filmed it, edited it, done everything on the film, on that side of it, to have all that feedback. A bit overwhelming, I suppose. But we knew, working for Ian and Dominic, what we're going to get in the end. That's why you push hard all the time, because you know what's going to come back.
It's been a very pleasurable experience.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was great feedback. It was like a line in the sand under the whole everything, wasn't it? Like a 2-year hard work, and then to get that feedback, to have all the cast and crew there. It was just a nice line in the sand that night, and how lovely, and just some really lovely feedback.
Yeah, when we dropped our original trailer, we did not expect it to go viral the way it did. It just took off, didn't it? We did it, an hour later, it was like, oh, we've a couple hundred views. That's not bad, is it, for like an hour? And then looked back at it about 2-3 hours later, and it was like 10,000 views. And then like each day, John would be going, have you seen the trailer? We've got another 20,000 views. And then it was 15,000 views and another 30,000.
We just kept sending each other texts going, it's 10,000, it's 20,000, it's 50,000.
You'd expect it to stop
It's
any minute.
100,000. And over the next few days, it just grew and grew and grew and grew, and it's just amazing.
We've said that so many times throughout this film, but it's taken a life of its own.
And I was so impressed with the trailer. It looks fantastic, and I love. I remember reading that Dominic and Ian wanted to make it look like some of those old war pictures. There's a lot of art of planes and clouds and things, and they wanted to give it that feel, and they've definitely got that.
Most of the comments we received online were really positive about the film, so it was good. It made us feel like, it's been worthwhile. These 3 years, it's been worthwhile because there's an audience for our film.
But to have 500,000 hits, and at first you thought it'd be nice if you get 5,000 or 10,000 look at it.
Yeah.
It just went ridiculous, didn't it? So it just showed you that to us, again, you're on the right track. There's a market out here for this story that hasn't been told, whether that's a Spitfire community, World War II community, and the Irish community.
I think One have done a good job though, selling the film. They've had the right marketing people behind the film, and then so I think kudos to what they've done for the film. They've got it out there. They've drummed up the right publicity for the film, and I've been so impressed with the fact they've got it into so many countries, and it's doing well in those countries.
They've backed the film, and they're the distributors on the film, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
And so they now that the film's done and over to them, it's up to them to sell it, which they have done across the world.
They've already got deals in the bag in various countries, Japan, South Korea, I believe.
In America, haven't they, and a few countries in Europe.
Yeah.
So as we're doing the interview now, they're selling it now, aren't they?
There's a deal in Australia.
Yeah.
When you do a film, you never know how it's going to go. When I was sitting back and thinking, like it's in just about to be launched in Korea, and it's just been released in Japan. And when we were making this, we were just thinking, let's just make as good a film as we can and get it out to as many people as we can.
We're all thinking, is the film as big as it should be? Have we done a good enough job because of the subject matter?
So when the film was wrapped and finished, we thought, and Ian Dominic as well, wouldn't it be nice to get 2 or 3 little reefs on that poster?
Mm-hmm.
If we could get 2 or 3, it would look nice. So they started putting.
Yeah, right.
So we started putting it out to a couple of film festivals. I think that was October, November. And normally you'd get nominated, and that'd be nice. You get a nomination reef, wouldn't you? So that looked great. So we thought we'd get 2 or 3 or 4 of these nomination reefs. We'd be winning. And then all of a sudden, Ian Dominic was started saying, we've won that one. Or, no, we've won that one.
It was like the YouTube trailer. It was a complete shock and surprise. We kept our fingers crossed we would pick up 4 or 5 nominations. But to have almost 50 wins, it just, there's no way we expected that.
Because we're so close to the films also, it's not nice to get that validation, from all over the world as well, because we picked up awards from New York, Tokyo, Rome, Paris, as well as the UK.
Spain, Mexico, Australia, all these countries kept coming back, and it wasn't a nomination, it was a win.
These awards are coming from international film festivals. It's very much an Irish-English story, so certainly in the British Isles and even Australia, I would say.
What was surprising, what I thought was nice, was when they kept coming back and saying, like, this cast had won, or the cinematography had won.
Yeah.
Even the producers, John.
That's right.
So it wasn't just the film had won, it was these little categories within the film that would won, and that was, I really liked that as well, that they were picking out little parts. We thought that'd be it, but Ian and Dominic, it looked like every other day. They get, guess what, lads? Another one, another one, another one. And it was getting, when it got to 20,
we got
to 30.
Didn't we get about
word.
5 or 6 from one festival on its own?
I think that was Spain, wasn't it? Something. I think it's Spanish Film Festival.
Yeah.
And then it went up to into the 40s.
Something totally unexpected, but you know, wow, what a moment that was to see it. We're in the top 40 UK DVD charts. You know, just again, it's just one of those moments where you think we've done something right here. You know.
Yeah.
And then they were going to print the DVD then, weren't they, in America? Mm-hmm. And then we said we might as well put back the awards on top.
Yeah.
And then we were getting close to the big 5-0 mark.
Well, that was the statement that was on the BBC Midlands Today with Mary Rose. 50 wins, even before the film's been released.
The Shamrock Spitfire has already won nearly 50 film festival awards ahead of its general release in mid-March. The film tells the story of 20...
To us, we don't take that for granted, absolutely no way to take any award for granted. It's just really lovely that people around the world are seeing the same film and just from different areas, different walks of life, you know, different regions in the world, and they're finding the same emotion and the same battle and of the scenes, and they're loving what they're seeing and they're coming back. It was nice that it got a cinema release, even though it was a short run.
Yeah.
And it was nice to see it at the cinema. It was nice just to be able to, I suppose, walk up to a cinema without any, and just walk in and see your own film.
Well, it's every sort of filmmaker's dream, isn't it, to see their work on the big screen.
We did not expect, when we thought this was going to go streaming, video on demand, didn't expect theatre run. So that, again, another example of a film taking on its own life. And then, you know, we've got it onto Apple TV and other streaming video on demand platforms. When we set out to make this film, we had no idea, you know, we couldn't have even guessed it would have taken off the way it has. Film Stories was great because we had a 4-page spread in that magazine, and we didn't expect that. We were hoping maybe a two-page. To get 4 pages, you know, it was incredible, and to be on the front cover of a magazine, you know, brilliant. I mean, it's such a respected film magazine, and to have our film as being one of the films that's highlighted.
It's nice to have a magazine like that that's willing to dedicate an entire issue on independent film.
Irish Post was great. We just have an article in the Irish Post. We had 2 articles in the Irish Post. The Sun newspaper did 2-page spread on us. That was great to have a couple of guys from the Sun come down and interview us.
Deadline we've been in.
Deadline magazine, yeah. Sky Cinema was probably the highlight. You know, to see it on Sky Cinema.
A UK premiere.
Only a handful of independent films are selected by Sky Cinema each year. To have our film as one of those handful of films, it's just one of those pats on the back, you know, after all.
To pick up the TV guide, the weekend TV guide, to see your movie.
As pick of the day.
One of the pick of the weeks.
It's surreal, isn't it?
You're looking at a still and you think, I remember shooting that. I remember that day filming that scene, you know, and you know, I remember what it was like to film that moment.
We had two nights we had screenings there, and both were full houses.
We had those 1940s singers named, didn't we, on the night, dressed in RAF uniforms. The atmosphere of that night was just amazing. It just made it feel like, again, you were stepping back into that time period, you know, with the music and the singers dressed up in uniform. And I think the Artrix was my favourite screening that we've had. It was just such a lovely atmosphere in the whole place, and it was just such a nice crowd on that night. It was just an amazing night.
It's hard to sum up that experience. It just grew and grew and grew, didn't it? And everything would get bolted on and on. It was amazing. Sometimes even on the film set, you were the Spitfire, and you'd look back and you'd have 50 crew, and you're thinking, what the heck? And everyone pulling, yeah.
From behind the camera to the actors, the hair and makeup, the costume, everyone was just so pleasant and lovely to work with.
Dedication and sacrifice in making a film. It's a 2 or 3 year journey from start to end, so you've got to be prepared for that, and you've got to give up, sacrifice a lot.
All of us have had our toe in the water. It's been a real baptismal fire, getting into it as much as we have done, because we've learned so much in these last 2 years about filmmaking.
We can't make the film without everybody fulfilling their roles.
The best chef in the world can't make a great dish without the right ingredients.
The producers will bring the ingredients, and Ian and Dominic will make the cake, and the executive producers pay for the ingredients. And then having that crew as well, you just lean on that crew all day long.